Welcome to Commander Central episode 12. This is a very special Halloween episode, and by very special, I mean we're recording near Halloween. That's really it.
Yep. Like November near.
Right. I put a sign on my van that said free candy last night, but no kids came. The police showed up eventually, but that was really it. So I'm Dana.
I'm Max.
And I'm Chris.
How's everyone doing tonight?
It's cold.
Yeah, it's cold.
It's snowing, our first snow of the year here in Wisconsin.
It's kind of gross. My dog was kind of stupid running outside. The first time she's ever seen snow. She'd run around back and forth, ended up breaking the leash. So now I have to fix the leash and put it back outside for her.
Oh, no.
I love that when like pets discover snow for the first time. I saw a video on like YouTube or something of someone who moved into a new apartment and their dog had never seen stairs. So it kept running to the top and stopping and running to the top and finally it just jumped.
Oh, no.
Wow.
That was pretty great.
I know my puppy the first time with the stairs, she would go down on her belly, just kind of like slide
Yes,
down
I've
the
seen that
stairs.
enough.
I went to school. In high school, I went with a kid who moved up here from North Carolina, the southern side of North Carolina. He'd never seen snow before.
So how did that go?
And the first day it snowed, he like rushed outside. Like we stopped class.
So
and
he
we
could go
all went
in the snow.
outside and we played in the snow for the last like 15 minutes of class.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
very cool. So how was trick-or-treating last night? I know Chris went because he's got a kid, and I went for a little bit.
Yep, trick-or-treating was good. It was a little chilly out, but, just kind of manned up with it and went with the flow.
That was pretty much what I did as well. We started discussing this before we started recording here, but I wanted a quick mention because Max doesn't have kids, so he just turned the lights off and didn't.
I fixed our audio equipment.
There we go. Yes. Yeah. But the first time I was living by myself, I had a house in town, and I was like 22 or something, and never even occurred to me that I would get trick-or-treaters. It was my first year in my house, and I just didn't even register. And so it's like 5 o'clock, and I got home from work, and I was in the kitchen making dinner or something. And the doorbell rings. I'm like, oh, who could that be? I walked up front, no idea, and there's like 4 kids there. And I'm like, oh, no. So like, just a second. I like run to the kitchen, and one of my roommates worked at like a weekend job at like a warehouse or something. So he packed a lunch. So like I'm digging through his cupboard where he kept all his stuff, and he had a bunch of Hershey's bars in there that he packed in his lunch. So I grabbed that pack of Hershey's bars, ran to the front, and gave them each a Hershey bar. And by that point, 4 more kids had came up. So I had to give them the last 4 Hershey bars, thinking, okay, then I'm just going to shut the door and turn the lights off and be done. And then a couple more kids started coming up, and I'm like, ah! So I run, I run back. There's nothing else in there. So there was a cube of Mountain Dew in the fridge. So I grabbed the cube of Mountain Dew, and I'm just like giving kids cans of Mountain Dew, trying to like just hurry, so I can like get my door closed and get the lights off. Because at that point, I'm like thinking in my head, if I run out of Mountain Dew, I've got packages of Pop-Tarts at that point. Maybe there's a pack of gum in here somewhere. So I'm like doing the mental math. I'm like, hurry. And I had like 3 Mountain Dews left when they finally walked away and there was no other kids coming. So I like turned the lights off and closed the door and pulled the blinds.
So you're one of those legends that goes around with all the kids. This guy was giving out full cans of Mountain Dew.
Yeah, right. At that point, yeah, right. I looked like I was an awesome trick-or-treat person at that point. But I shut everything off and I was done after that. And then the next year, I just like bought a bag of candy and I was ready for them. But that first year, I was not prepared.
And that makes me think of the scene from Big Daddy where they walk into the guy's house and steal his CDs, and the guy starts handing him the CDs. Like, here you go.
I did have CDs back then. I probably could have done that. Social media, Chris. What do we have this week?
We heard from a few people. Heard from only Lulu Top on Twitter. She brought to our attention issues with hissing and quietness. So I'd like to apologize for that. I know we had some tech issues. Max, maybe you can delve into it further.
Some buttons on our mixer got pressed in the move, and I didn't set up the mixer to begin with way back in the day.
Okay.
So it took about 2 hours last night of fiddling around and Googling, and everything looks better today.
So that's when Max said he worked on audio equipment last night. That's literally what he did. He worked on our audio equipment last night.
So also was following a conversation between Nathan at NH118 and Caleb Rideau. They were tweeting back and forth about a tweet that Max sent out about brews, and they were talking about Queen Marchesa. It was brought up that she can become too political, but Nathan replied by saying that he thinks that Monarch speeds up the game and incentivizes people to do things, which personally I think is a good point. I guess you can get into a dirtily meta and, You know, you need to make people do stuff.
I like Monarch a lot, and I played one card that had it, and I really should rotate it back in just because I like it a lot. It's a cool mechanic.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We don't see it in our meta.
Well, the biggest problem was, aside from Queen Marchesa, there weren't a lot of really like good playable cards that had the mechanic on it.
Right.
The best one I can think of, I do believe, is called Palace Jailer. It's a 4 mana 2/2. Comes into play, you exile a creature until someone else becomes the monarch. So it's not when he dies, but when someone else takes the monarch from you, do they get the creature back?
Okay, that's cool.
That's interesting.
There was the
So if there's a board wipe, you still don't get your creature back until you take the monarch away.
all right.
That's cool. And
There-
if you're the only person running a Monarch card in your deck,
Yep.
that's awesome.
And then you could blink it to re-get the Monarch. Actually, that might be interesting in your Brago deck just to try out.
I think Monarch is you'd only get it back if someone took it from you. Like, if I play it, get
Well-
the Monarch, I can't blink it to become the Monarch
But
again.
I think
But when it comes back into play, you
it
retarget
says
for exile.
you become
True.
the, there's something that say you
Yep,
become
and
the Monarch.
monarch never left, so you would. So I'm assuming you could hit multiple things.
Yeah, I would think so.
I don't. It's in the process of getting slotted into my Alessia deck, and we'll see how it works.
Yeah, I'm gonna put there's the Death Touch one. I'm gonna put it back in my Glissa deck just because it is a cool card, and I think the one I'm running in that slot right now is Liliana's Reaver, which when it deals combat damage,
Discard and make a token.
discard, make a token, and it never gets through, so I might as well accomplish like. Whereas if I play the Monarch one, I at least get the Monarch. I can do something with it. So I think I'm gonna make that change as well because it is a really cool mechanic.
Yes.
And Max wound up deciding you think you're gonna make.
Crush the Bloodbraid.
Oh boy.
And the reason I'm doing that is I'm really liking the +1/+1 counter aspect of Lycia. But I think playing Crush will have me be able to have a board state that I don't always rely on Crush to win the game. Where right now with Lycia, it's her or nothing.
I do
And-
see that as a mistake. A lot of new people, when they build a deck, they focus too much on their commander,
Oh, for sure.
where they don't have really anything to win. If you lock them out, blow up their commander 10 times, they can never cast it again, and they just can't do anything the rest of the game.
And there's some decks you can't help that, like your Euro deck or my Sigarda deck. Really, like there's nothing if we lose those commanders, there's not a lot we can do. I mean, I can suit up Heliod or something. And
Yep, I've suited up Core Spirit Dancer before if you have to, or
Sure.
something like that.
but it's much more effective if you can use your
Oh,
your
I
main
agree.
thing. But yeah, if you can like have backup plans that aren't entirely reliant on your commander, that is so much more useful.
Yep.
Anything else we had?
We heard from Adam D. Fishing.
Oh yes.
Yes. Would you like to talk about this one, Dana? Or you
Sure, I'll
want me to
mention
bring
it.
it up?
I'll mention it because I kind of have a response here to him. Adam said, "What do you guys think about Chameleon Colossus? Why doesn't it get any love in EDH?" So, for those that don't know, Chameleon Colossus is 2 and 2 green for a shapeshifter, 4/4, and it has Changeling, so it's every creature type at all times. Has Pro Black, and for 2 and 2 green, it gets X plus X until end of turn, where X is its power. So the first time you spend 4 mana, it gets +4/+4, assuming nothing else is buffing it, so it becomes an 88. If you do it a second time, it becomes a 16/16. Do it a third time, it becomes a 32/32, whatever. So if you've got like a ridiculous amount of mana, it gets huge.
Yes.
And it has Pro Black, which is nice, but it doesn't have Trample. The response I gave to him on Twitter is I said that Ronus and Nylea kind of do the same thing, and they're indestructible, and they're bigger bodies in their own right. Do you guys, like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you kind of agree with that, or does that make sense? Because it doesn't see it played in a lot of decks. I have not seen one actually come down, I don't think.
I agree. I think Ronus and Nylea do better things. And I think in that 4-drop slot, I think there are better creatures overall, or play a spell that gives your entire board trample and +X/+X.
Sure.
Yeah, I can agree with that too. Especially seeing how Nylea and Ronus target other creatures.
Yeah.
And
And
Colossus
are
only targets
indestructible.
itself.
Right. And it doesn't have Trample itself, and it's in the 4-drop slot where Nylea would be, or Ronus is in 3. It's one of those cards that, like, I've put it in decks when I've been, like, kind of theory crafting them, but it never quite makes the cut. I will say, though, I am building a Rabo deck for my son for Christmas. I'm taking stuff out of it. I'm tweaking it, so I'm not just
Rabo
gonna,
the Kitty General?
Yes. So I'm not just going to give him the stock decks. I'm going to tweak that one a little bit, and I'm going to put Chameleon Colossus in that because there's just only so many good cats, and it'll be a cat with Pro Black and the pump ability, so it's going to go in there.
Yeah.
Why a Rabo over any of the other non-precons that came out this year?
Because I asked him, I said, if I'm going to make you we've been talking about Magic a little bit, he's getting interested finally, And I asked him what kind of deck he wanted, because I figured he'd like a tribal theme. Like, would you like dinosaurs, or would you like cats, or would you like? And he immediately was like, cats. I want cats, because he's been reading this series of books called Warriors by, I think, Aaron Hunter is the author, which I don't even think is real. I think it's a pseudonym, but that doesn't matter. That's about cats that like join clans and are like fighting one another. So there's like different clans of cats that fight. And he's like 7 volumes deep into this 20-volume set of cats fighting one another book. So the cats immediately was what he wanted.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. So I started making that deck and tweaking it a little bit. And we might as well kind of segue into, well, first let's do our social media information here.
You can find us at Twitter, at CMDR Central. Search us up on Facebook at Commander Central, or find us online at www.commandercentral.com.
And you can also find us on Patreon by searching CMDR Central.
So what I was going to say was, I don't think we played any games this week because it was Halloween, was our usual EDH night, and people had stuff going on, so we just didn't play.
Yep, I haven't gotten any pickup games at all in other days neither.
Well, I played one. I played with my next door neighbor and a friend of his who are both playing pretty close to stock precons. So I cracked that Arabo deck open to play it against them. And I've played against it, but I've never played the deck myself. I've played against a couple ones. But it's a really cool deck. It's a lot of fun to play. I got out Balin on turn 3 or 4. Balin is insanely good at what he does. Like, if you're playing an equipment deck and you're not using like mono white, if you're playing still playing Kemba, or I think Shram's okay too, but like Balin feels really, really good to be able to, something dies and you just like, I'm going to throw every piece of equipment on Balin. I had him out for probably 7 or 8 turns, and Argentum Armor comes down. I'm going to equip that for 2.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, it just stock. It felt really good. Now, obviously, if you're playing against like a bunch of Toon decks, it's not going to be nearly as strong, but it was super fun to play. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I know Balin would be just like a Kemba for me. As soon as he hits the field, I'm going to kill him immediately and keep him off the field as much as possible.
But at least in that case, it's much easier when you replay Kemba, because I've seen this so many times against Kemba decks where it's exactly that. You kill Kemba, then he replays Kemba for 8 mana or whatever it is. Then and that's it. That's the turn. Because in the next turn, you have to spend 8 or 10 more mana putting all the equipment back on Kemba. And then he's probably going to die again. And then, you do nothing but play Kemba and re-equip him. Balin, you just do it for 2 mana. Like, that is so strong. Or is it 3? Is it 2 or 3? I forget.
1 and a white.
1 and a white. Okay. Yeah, that makes it feel so much more powerful.
Yep.
So I don't think we had any other games. But you said didn't do any pickup games or anything.
No, not at all. I played more board games this week than anything.
Any new ones?
I played Zombicide, but the modern version we played for about 4 hours. We had it set. Kind of reminded me of World of Warcraft. I was tanking an abomination where he would deal no damage to me, but if he hit anybody else, he'd pretty much kill him because you only get 2 wounds in this game and then you die. So I was tanking that. Everyone else was killing all the mobs around us, but we couldn't actually go any farther into the game because we were just stuck because there were so many zombies behind a door.
Oh,
and
no.
we had to find a way to just blow them all up in one shot.
Nice. I'll have to try, because you play, on Friday nights usually?
Friday nights, Saturday nights, usually Saturday nights because they're closed on Sundays, our LGSs, so they're cool with staying till like 4 o'clock in the morning because they don't have to come in the next day.
Sure.
So.
I might come down on Saturday if you're going to be around this week. I have to work at like 10 o'clock at night, but I might come down before then and play a game or something.
Alrighty.
Just because next week Max and I aren't going to make
EDH
either because we're going to see Foo Fighters. So we're going to miss games.
You guys and your music. I'm a goat rope and country boy, so.
You and your football.
Right?
There we go, yeah. So, Max, any news this week?
We have quite a bit of news this week.
And it all came down like in the last 24 hours. It was a quiet week until the last day or two.
So the first bit of news is going to be the oldest bit of news. We got revealed the GP promo for next year and the RPTQ promo for next year, which is Mutavault for the GPs and Noble Hierarch for the RPTQs.
So that shouldn't affect Hierarch's price much because RPTQs, there's just not a lot of people that
go to those.
Actually can go to an RPTQ. But Mutavault's sitting at $12.
12 to 15, yep.
So that'll be nice to get.
I know I brought
promos.
up Mutavault to a guy who I play with, and he was super curious why they were reprinting another promo version of Mutavault.
There's a Champs one, but it's like crazy expensive. It's like
Is
like
okay.
$400 or something.
Holy crap!
I think maybe Max can look that up and confirm it, but I'm pretty sure
on
it's
it
nuts.
right now.
But the new art for the new one really looks really good. Yeah, I wonder if maybe that was choice because of the fact that Ixalan and Commander are both tribal. So I wonder if that was
would make sense.
part of their thinking, because tribal is a big deal right now, so they wanted to get Mutavaults out there, maybe.
Maybe.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to at least getting my Mutavault at GP Vegas.
Yep. Or Minneapolis, or both.
Or both, right? Yeah.
Have fun at Vegas, guys.
Mm-hmm.
We'll tell you all about it, Chris. We'll describe it in great detail.
Then we'll discuss why I couldn't go.
Right.
Big shout out to my wife.
Yep. Hi, Cindy.
Didn't trust you in Vegas with us. I don't understand. So what else do we have?
We have our first spoilers from Rivals of Ixalan.
Which really surprised me to get them this soon.
Right.
They weren't leaks. They were like legit.
The professor did them.
Yeah.
The first one is going to be Silvergill Adept. So this is a reprint from Lorwyn. It is a 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Merfolk, and it has additional cost to casting it. Reveal a Merfolk from your hand or pay 3. And when it ETBs, you draw a card.
And that's played in standard in modern Merfolk, right?
Yes, it is a multiple in modern Merfolk, and I'm super psyched about this card because I bought every Merfolk in Ixalan as play sets because they're super cheap, and I have a feeling Merfolk's going to become a huge deck in standard with the next set, especially seeing now that Silvergill Adept is reprinted. I have a feeling something else is coming down the wire as well.
I mean, that alone might be enough to make standard a deck, like standard Merfolk, a really strong deck.
Yep.
Do you think that's going to be better than if they don't print a Lord in standard?
See, I was discussing this about a Lord. We have the new core sets coming up this spring, summer, somewhere around in
summer,
there.
yeah.
Now, Ixalan will still be legal. And if you think back, Lord of Atlantis is only in core sets. Aside from the Time Spiral one where he was a time-shifted card or whatever. Yep. So we could see a Lord of Atlantis reprint. I have been seriously thinking about that. So you might get at the tail end before rotation Lord of some sort, which then would put that deck over the top.
There's a couple different ones even they could reprint in that set too. Merfolk, Sovereign, or there's like 3 or 4 different Lords they could easily print, both in Ixalan and in the core set, for sure.
Yes.
Cool. Our next one is Gaholta Primal Hunger. He's a legendary creature, Elder Dinosaur. 10 green for a 12/12 Trampler. But he reads, his cost is reduced by X for the total power of creatures you control.
So conceivably, especially in Commander, that's pretty easy to play for 2 green.
Well, even in standard or any other format, if you have a Carnage Tyrant out who's a 7/6,
right,
it's -7, so he's a 5 drop.
Right, yeah. For a 11/11, 12/12, what was
12/12.
I was looking at him, I'm like, I'll put that in my Recce deck. He's a legend.
Yep.
I'll draw a card off him, and pretty frequently I'm going to be able to play him. Like, I get a lot of power down on the board pretty quickly.
Yes.
I will definitely play him and draw a card off him for 2 green.
The one thing I love about this card, and Wizards does this a lot, and it might just be me with my bad eyesight, but they like to hide little keywords inside of their text. Like that trample is on the very bottom, underneath everything.
Yeah,
so you don't really notice it.
Because that was my first thought too. I'm like, oh, it doesn't have trample, so that seems like that offsets. I'm like, oh, it does have trample. Yeah. Well, that's really good.
Putting the keyword underneath is not fun sometimes.
Yes.
And it can be played as a commander. Like if you want to run this guy as your commander, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I would totally run the Dragon God instead, the Naya one, because then you have more access to all your other dinosaurs.
Yep.
Sorry, not Dragon Dinosaur.
I mean, I think I would, if I was running mono green Stompy, I still think Nylea is a better bet probably.
Most often, yeah.
But it's an option, and it's a kind of a cool option.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was a neat card.
Here's my question. His type is Elder Dinosaur.
I noticed that.
Similar to Elder Dragons. Is Wizards going to do a rotation of the 5 Elder Dinosaurs, do we think?
So I would assume that's not just a thing they threw on there just for the heck of it.
Right.
Like there's a reason he's an Elder Dinosaur.
I wonder if it has something to do maybe with story where he's like an ancient one. You know, like older than the other ones that we got in original Ixalan.
Well, or if we're going to get a thing where, like, as they get closer to finding the city, I forget what the name of the city they're looking for is.
We'll call it El Dorado because that's pretty much what it is.
If they're going to start finding old stuff lurking around the city that's been there forever. Or we could just get, maybe an Elder Vampire and an Elder Merfolk. I mean, that doesn't sound, I don't think they would do that, but.
Mr. Markov's on Ixalan. That's what's happening.
Well, there is the original vampire that is the mother of all the Legion of Dusk. She has a name, and they've mentioned her in the lore, and then she disappeared at some point. So that Elder Vampire would make sense, but I don't know about Elder Merfolk or Elder Pirate. It really doesn't have the same ring to it.
Right.
It could be like
exactly.
a skeleton pirate or a zombie pirate or something. You
Maybe
know?
that would be kind of cool. Elder Zombie Pirate, sure, why not?
Yeah. Let's just jam as many words on
As many
text
keywords
we
you can get in there as possible, for sure.
So our final bit of news dropped today, November 1st. We got our first look at From the Vault Transformed. And we are all pretty much rolling our eyes here.
You can hear the sound of the eyes
Yeah.
being rolled.
The three face cards are Huntmaster of the Fells, Delver Secrets, and Liliana Heretical Healer.
See, I'm happy about Delver. I'm
For
think
sure,
I'm gonna look
yes.
for a play set of them, see if people crack 'em,
And it's
see if I can
it's
get
new
'em.
art,
New art.
Yep.
And Huntmaster has new art too.
and Huntmaster's a cool card.
It is. But I just-
Liliana's a fine card,
yeah,
but everyone
It was supposed to be Jace.
assumed that was going to be Baby Jace in that slot.
unless they're just toying with us. You know how Wizards pulls at your heartstrings and does stuff like that.
Not with their main squeeze,
not
though.
with Jace, though. Like could be like. There's no official confirmation that Jace isn't in the set. He could be there, but man, I just don't think
Right.
so. Like it's Jace. He would be the face card if he was there. I would think.
Just when From the Vault 20 came out, he was like, boom, Jace the Mind Sculptor right there in your face.
Well, I was wondering too. Now, are prices for Baby Jace going to spike up?
Probably.
I don't know. I've been sitting on mine and probably won't ever get rid of it. One of us is good enough to have.
Well, it's a tough card to reprint because it's dual faced, so they have to deal with that. And I thought for sure this was going to be their chance to do it, but it does not look to be the case.
So in your guys' opinion, do you think this is as big of or bigger letdown than not printing Damnation in From the Vault Annihilation?
What a fun competition. Not having Damnation was a pretty huge letdown.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one's much worse than not having Baby Jace.
I would tend to agree.
Yeah.
Because everyone was so sure Damnation was going to be the key. And it was in the set for a while. Like it was during development, it was in the set, and they pulled it because they were going to put it in some undisclosed location.
In M15.
M15, that it was? Okay.
And then they
wound
pulled
up
it.
not doing it.
They pulled it for like Liliana Vess or something.
Well, Liliana Vest got pulled because that was supposed to be Liliana the Veil
That's
in the
right.
set. And that literally the last minute they replaced it with Vest because Black
Mono Black Devotion.
Mono Black Devotion was
Pack
so
Rat.
strong.
Oh, don't even bring me back in time.
But yeah, I think Damnation was also possibly supposed to be in that set. They're
Mhm.
like, well, we definitely can't do that. So I think it's not as big of a letdown as Annihilation. Part of the problem with Annihilation was there was no good cards even aside from
Any of them?
once Damnation was gone. That was really disappointing. Whereas here you're like, Delver and Huntmaster alone are better follow-up cards than Annihilation had.
It makes me curious what else is in there, because if they have Delver, Huntmaster, and Liliana as the face cards, what else is in there? Because usually there's like 12 cards in the set?
15.
They do goofy things with like the 2 and the 3 card though, because like last year Mind's Desire was one of the ones, and like no one cares about Mind's Desire.
And Momori Rig was the other one.
Yes, they do goofy stuff sometimes with the 2 and the 3 slot. I'm still expecting to see maybe
Westvale Abbey.
Westvale Abbey could easily be in there, stuff like that. Who knows?
That would be cool. I've been looking for a foil Westvale, so.
There aren't that many flip cards from to choose from.
No.
Unless they go odd different routes. We were discussing this because it is called Transform.
It is Transform.
But we were discussing maybe transforming aspect from like Kamigawa, how they actually flip.
Now, see, I thought Mero said that it was just dual face cards. But I could be wrong. I could be remembering that wrong.
I can't remember.
So I thought he said it was just 2-sided cards, which leaves just Innistrad, and
Origin.
or the origins that had 5 of them.
And
I don't
Ixalan.
know.
Oh, well, I guess Ixalan now, yeah.
He could be just, doing the whole Emrakul thing again. It's just, just flip cards, just flip
Maybe.
cards. It's not Emrakul. We swear. Just wait. Oh, surprise.
Well, the product description on Wizards' website says, when they were introduced in Innistrad, transforming cards added a layer of intrigue and mystery to both lore and gameplay. So yeah, we're not talking about the Kamigawas.
No.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what the full list is, but at least right now I am less interested than I was this time yesterday.
Yep, I would agree.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, with news covered, I think we will move into the main show. We're going to talk about Planeswalkers today. The first thing I'm going to mention is a little bit of an anecdote, but I think it kind of illustrates where Planeswalkers are today. In Garruk's Wake came out in M15, which was July of 2014, and that was about 3 years ago. For those who don't remember the card, it's a sorcery for 7 black that says destroy all creatures and all planeswalkers you do not control. I'm mentioning this because it's very similar to a card called Plague Wind. Same casting cost, 7 black. Plague Wind says destroy all creatures you don't control, and they can't be regenerated. So basically the difference is Ingruk's Wake hits Planeswalkers, Plague Wind keeps stuff from being regenerated. And at the time, 3 years ago, I had a Plague Wind in a deck. And Ingruk's Wake came out, and I remember going, maybe I'll switch it out, maybe I won't, because there's Planeswalkers that you want to deal with, but you have My Hollow as a card, and I've seen Thruns get played, and so it was like a coin flip. I really didn't have a reason to grab an Ingruk's Wake over Plague Wind, but it was fine either way. Today, 3 years later, absolutely Ingruk's Wake over Plague Wind.
Any day. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
In 3 years' time, that's changed.
So, because of that, Planeswalkers had added a lot to the game in the last 3 years. The amount of them has doubled.
Right. Since then, we had twice as many Planeswalkers added to the game in 3 years.
We now have cards that tutor for Planeswalkers, such as Oath of the Gatewatch, Call for the Gatewatch, and our favorite Didgeridoo. We have support spells for Planeswalkers, Chainveil, all the Oaths.
And there really wasn't anything before that interacted with Planeswalkers in that way. I mean, Doubling Season, but that was more of an accident.
Yep. Planeswalkers that interact with other Planeswalkers, such as Teferi and Ajani Steadfast.
Yep.
We have the rule change from the Planeswalker rule going to the Legend rule. That's a big impact for Planeswalkers. And we also have, due to that, we have commanders that interact with Planeswalkers, such as Didgeridoo, Atraxa, and Captain Sisay being able to tutor him.
Yep.
Or even Reki, who draws a card off him now.
I'd also like to mention that it's also changed how they make burn spells now, where it's not just straight to the face. You can choose to hit them or a Planeswalker or a creature.
Did they officially change that ruling?
It has not printed yet, but I know according
they
to
are
what I
going to
read
change
for Arena.
So it'll probably be in Rivals is when the rule change will happen.
Yep. Just because it became very confusing for people.
So I think we all agree Planeswalkers have become more of a threat in the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
So I talked to Don Miner at EDH Rec this morning, and he was like, literally, he's like, I'm leaving on vacation in 10 minutes.
Good timing.
Right. But I'll get you the information later. What I asked him was, can he find out if there's a trend change in the last few years versus, in 2017, the average deck on EDH Rec has 2 Planeswalkers in it versus last year it was 1.8 versus the year before it was 1.6 or something. So I wanted to have the math to show that people are running more Planeswalkers, and he didn't have time to do it. But hopefully in a couple shows when he's back, I'm going to get that information, because I'm really curious to see if they're being used more frequently in decks, because it seems like they are, but it's really tough to quantify that. What have you guys started doing differently because you assume Planeswalkers are scarier than they once were? Do you do anything differently to prepare for that?
I guess my biggest difference I do, which isn't like a huge difference, I run more any removal spells.
Okay.
Such as your Banishing Light, your Utter End, that kind of thing, because it just hits anything. I don't focus generally on just Planeswalker removal. It's just in anything, so you get your options are wide open.
I would agree with that. I do the same thing. I look at the removal just for any target, or even Planeswalker removal. I make sure I run a Hero's Downfall or a Vraska's Contempt in black decks. It also makes me look at my decks differently to make sure, can I compete with Planeswalkers, or can I compete with them as in I have to deal with them right away, or can I ignore them hoping my opponents will deal with them later?
Okay. Well, you mentioned Hero's Downfall. That's a good one. When Hero's Downfall came out in Theros, it's a better murder. That's a cool card, But that was it. That was my thought process. That's a cool card, and I'll probably run it. But Go for the Throat was, at that point in time, my go-to black removal spell.
Mm-hmm.
And Go for the Throat's still really good, but, if I have to choose between Go for the Throat and Hero's Downfall, I will pick Hero's Downfall for sure. Because Planeswalkers are something I have to have a plan. I have to have one card in my deck. I want to have something that I know can deal with a Planeswalker. Now, ideally, I have a Teysa deck, and I'm running Utter End, I'm running Vindicate, I'm running Anguish Unmaking that can hit any non-land permanent. And that's really useful. But being able to specifically pay 1 more mana to know I can hit a Planeswalker with my creature removal spell too is really, really good. And it wasn't something I thought about a couple years ago.
Yep.
I also tend to pay attention to evasion. My Sphinx deck, I don't worry about it quite as much because my creatures all have flying, so it's much easier to get through and hit a Planeswalker. But I have decks where I'm my Reki deck, for example, I'm really conscious of, okay, do I have something in here to deal with Planeswalkers, because my creatures tend to not have evasion, and I can't rely on combat damage as a way to deal with someone's planeswalker that's about to go off.
Right.
So I pay much more attention to it than I used to. Because I used to build a deck, and you'd like build a deck and you test it, and you're like, okay, this is good, but man, I don't have any graveyard removal, or I don't have any way to deal with whatever. Like you kind of do that review process after you play the deck a few times. Planeswalkers wasn't really something I had thought much about. Now when I do that review process, I'm like, okay, I had a planeswalker on the game last night, and I couldn't deal with it with this deck. I need to figure out how I can handle that. And that's changed for me, at least.
Okay. Yeah, for me, it hasn't really changed too much. I mean, I don't foresee like planeswalkers as a huge threat when they hit the field, at least in our meta. Usually when they hit the field, they die immediately anyways, because everyone just changes their focus right onto that, and then they get back to their usual game plan.
People are very good at handling that threat in our meta, for sure.
I also think our meta is better at not just jamming planeswalkers in decks because they're planeswalkers. I think, yeah, the newer players do that because, I just cracked this in draft. It's going to go great in my EDH deck. But
sure,
the more experienced players realize that, this Ajani Mentor Heroes isn't doing me anything in my Selesnya deck.
Yep.
So I don't need it.
So when you put a planeswalker in a deck, Max, what's your decision-making process there? Like, when do you do it?
I always make sure they somehow help the deck. So when I had my Odric Lunarch Marshal deck, I ran Ajani Steadfast because that gave a creature an ability. Vigilance, Flying, Lifelink, which triggered Odric for the rest of my team.
So you're looking for synergy specifically with what your deck is doing.
I run Venzer in Brago because he can exile stuff until end of turn.
Okay, sure.
And Brago also has the ability to reset planeswalkers that I need in case I don't want to ult them. I can reset them and get another ability off of them.
Yep.
How about you, Chris? What's your rules about putting planeswalkers in decks?
It has to be superior to another card. Like, for instance, I can think off the top of my head, I run one planeswalker for sure, and that's Elspeth Sun's Champion in my Alesha deck.
Okay. And it's kind of a token deck, so...
Yep. She makes tokens, but she's also a board wipe on a stick.
Mm-hmm.
And she's board wipe that doesn't hit a lot of your stuff, too.
Yes. So it's a better than any other board wipe that I could put in the deck, aside from the ones that blow up stuff that's bigger, too.
Okay.
Plus, her ult is just a game winner in itself.
Yes, for sure.
So, I mean, that's what I look at is, do all three abilities play in well with the deck? If they don't, like if the +1 is worthless but your minus is good, then I'm kind of on the fence about it. If the ult's the only thing you're after, then honestly, in my opinion, it's not worth it to slot it in.
Particularly where we play, because you cannot rely on that ult. You can't. There are some places maybe you can, but people definitely turn on your planeswalkers as fast as possible. Like, I've seen people like, oh, there's a Tybalt out, better deal with it. Like, it's a Tybalt, but like it's a planeswalker, and people just want them gone.
Yep, I know a lot of times when I play Elspeth and Alesha, I look at it as a 6-mana board wipe. That's all that she is.
And you have no way to recur her either.
Nope. So, and it's fine with me. I mean, sometimes I can drop her with, say, Perforos is out and pop out 3 tokens, and she's dead the next turn, but hey, I got out that whatever 6 damage right then and there.
Definitely worth it.
Yep.
And that's one thing that's nice, too, that people don't take into consideration. Your planeswalker isn't just doing the ability, it's probably then soaking up either a removal spell or damage of some sort, too. I mean, that's a legitimate thing to bear in mind. Your Elspeth, when she dies the next turn, has saved you from taking 6 damage or saved one of your creatures from a removal spell or whatever.
Yep.
I pretty much do the same thing. Like, I'm running a couple planeswalkers in my Glissa deck, but they're stuff that makes Death Touch guys. And I'm running a planeswalker in my Mina and Dan Landfall deck, but it's a Nissa that does landfall stuff. So they're always cards that synergize with what my deck is doing, just like Max said and just like what you said. I don't do this planeswalker is generically good, so it's going in my deck. And there's enough of those that are, like the 4-mana Garruk. Was it the first one that untaps 2 lands?
It is really strong.
He's almost always good in a deck, but I just don't run him because that's not how I tend to build decks.
Aside from your Didgeridoo deck, who has every horrible white planeswalker ever.
Exactly. And I'm going to quick mention this since we're talking about like removal spells for planeswalkers. Do you guys want to guess how many spells specifically target planeswalkers? And I'm not talking damage because there's a lot of red damage spells that say target creature or planeswalker, but like removal spells that specifically let you target a planeswalker.
Does planeswalker have to be in the rules text on the card?
Yes, I'm not going to, like, Beast Within wouldn't count.
Okay,
It's not
Chaos Warp isn't going to count.
Yep.
Jeez. If I would have to say, I'm going to guess 4 of them.
There's 6 of them.
There's 7. So
I was close.
I thought it was
I'm curious. Which ones did you? Because I thought of the black-white board wipe.
Merciless Eviction.
I didn't count those because they don't target.
Oh,
There's,
okay.
Okay, then I was.
Yep, I was off
I
that
just
too.
knew they said Planeswalker.
There's 3 board wipes. There's Fated Retribution. There's Inguruk's Wake, and there's Merciless Eviction that destroy creatures
Yep.
or planeswalkers. But for targeted ones, you've got Dreadbore, destroy creature or planeswalker.
the modern staple.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Hero's Downfall, Imprisoned in the Moon, Never to Return, which was in Amonkhet.
Yep.
Runa's Path, Vraska's Contempt, and Silumgar's Command. One of the modes is destroy target planeswalker.
Well,
I
never
forgot
thought
about-
Slumgar's
yeah.
Command because I never see it really get play
Yeah,
ever.
it's five mana.
Yep.
But still, so that's it though. Like there's the amount of spells that like legitimately say destroy target planeswalker. There's just not a lot of them. And even Imprisoned in the Moon isn't destroy. It just lets you turn it into something. And a lot of those aren't that great either. I mean, Dreadbore is good. Hero's Downfall is good. But like Runa's Path, unless you're running a deck that wants Awaken, it's a sorcery speed creature or planeswalker. It's not terrible, but
I could see it in mono black. I would play it. I mean, yeah, it's
mono
sorcery
black.
speed, but it gives
Mono
you
black maybe.
gives you other options. It's like,
Sure.
oh, hey, this is late game. I drew this. We'll just destroy that creature and awaken this. And what is it? A 5/5? I think it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Vraska's Contempt is definitely a real deal card.
Yes. That exile. Ooh, so good.
So talk about Super Friends decks because that's kind of a new thing too. I'm like, people did it for a while. People built Super Friends decks, years ago, but they weren't good. It was like, I'm going to build a Super Friends deck. Woohoo!
You know what you're talking about right now, and it's my biggest fear is that we're talking about the Justice League movie right now.
Right.
It's going to be terrible.
I hope not. I really hope not.
It's a DC movie. I'm
Wonder Woman was
setting the-
good.
Okay, one of how many?
Right. Yes. No, you're
Come
right.
on, the Batman movies were good.
Those were a different.
They're still part of the DC universe.
Not this DCEU.
Yeah, technically it's.
They are not canon with these movies.
Yeah.
I'm Batman.
Where's Gordon?
There you are.
Let's not get started doing the Batman voice again.
I wish I could remember what the name of that YouTube video
I
is,
know.
but
We'll find it.
yes.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So there were Planeswalker decks years ago, like people had 5-color, decks with Child of Alara or whatever. But in the last couple of years, again, Atraxa has made it legitimately a serious way to play, or Narset has made it legitimately a serious archetype to deal with. So do you guys like playing against Super Friends decks? I have one, so
I don't mind it per se. Now, it varies on who I'm playing against. For instance, if I play against someone who's just freshly playing this, just put it together, it bothers me like none other because they take forever to do their turns because they don't
Yes.
actually know what everything does.
Yep.
Now, someone who's had this deck together for a long time and knows what they're doing, cool. Another thing I would point out for that is, for me, when I've played a Super Friends deck against people, you got to plan your turns ahead of time.
yes.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you don't take 20 minutes doing it.
Yep. Luke, who we used to host a show with, Luke Witten, had a Angus Mackenzie Super Friends deck that he played, and actually his wasn't too annoying because he usually had a plan.
Yep.
He knew what he was going to do.
He was always quick with it. He didn't take
Yes.
forever to do it. I got to say, my biggest annoyance with that deck was the fog all the time.
Was
Yeah,
Angus not the Planeswalker?
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
it was
Angus
the
was the problem
commander.
there. And really, that's like the problem with the Narset deck. The Narset Super Friends deck isn't so much that the Planeswalkers come out; it's that Narset's so tough to deal with,
Yes.
Yep.
and then just starts cascade. Not a cascade, but just starts like putting them out.
Snowballing them.
Yeah. My Dejeru deck, being mono white Planeswalkers, I mean, it's easy to dirtle with that deck too if I'm not careful. That one I don't feel too bad about because the power is so limited on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really easy to like take 5-minute turns that don't get anything done.
Or forget I should have rolled this guy up first before I rolled up this one. 'cause
Yes.
then I missed these triggers.
For
and-
Yeah.
sure.
I think the biggest thing with Super Friends deck, like Chris kind of said, the new player who does a 5-color Planeswalker deck just because they have a bunch and they want to shove them in there, they don't have a clear path to victory. They just want to play
Yes.
their Planeswalkers, where a tuned Super Friends deck is probably going to have the perfect package for removal, tutors, everything you need to make the deck cohesive and work well against any other type of deck they face. And in my opinion, I'd rather play against the tuned Super Friends deck because they've put the effort into it. They know how it runs. They know the synchronization of the deck versus that new player playing that stock Atraxa they swapped everything out for Planeswalkers just because they know, their loyalty counters go up at the end of the turn.
Which is, I like the new oaths that they came out with because it adds another flavor to that where they can actually get somewhere with the deck.
Right.
Yes.
Instead of just sit there and use abilities. It's like, I have Oath of Liliana. Well, I cast another Planeswalker. Oh, now I get a 2/2 zombie that's coming swinging into your door too.
Right. It adds something more to the deck that wasn't there before. Same with the Chain Veil. Adds an element to play that wasn't there in a Planeswalker deck before. And it's also one of those things I think eventually they'll catch up. It seems like every expansion we get a destroy target creature or Planeswalker spell. In 2 years' time from now, we'll have a couple more board wipes that hit Planeswalkers too. So I think the rest of the game will catch up to where the Planeswalkers are at. But I think right now there's just a bit of a gap. The way the answers haven't caught up to the questions yet at this point.
I agree with that. And I think the big thing that kind of set them even farther back was changing the legendary rule, especially for Commander now, because now you can play 4 Chandras on the field.
Yep.
So instead of just, having the one out and then you're like, okay, well, I don't have to worry about another Chandra. And now you have to worry about it. And you're like, well, I don't have a removal package that can take care of 4 Chandras.
Right. It also makes it easier to play. Like my Dejero deck is much easier to play when I don't have to worry about, okay, I've got one Johnny out, so now I can only play a Gideon or an Elspeth because there's only like 5 different white Planeswalkers.
Yep.
I guess I got to get in a Hiri this time because I've already got a Chandra and a Gideon and an Elspeth and a Johnny in play.
And I'm sure that speeds up your gameplay, though, too, because now you just can play it out and don't have to sit and think, what you have to do in order to get the next one out.
Yes, it definitely speeds things up quite a bit. As much as it can in a Super Friends deck anyway.
Yes.
So let's do a little bit of Planeswalker trivia here quick.
Oh, boy.
I'm betting you guys know this, but what
Probably
was the
not.
first expansion to have Planeswalkers?
Lorwyn.
Lorwyn. But they were supposed to be in Time Spiral block.
Yep, in the future site.
Yep, but they did not have them finished.
I want to see a Planeswalker in a future site border.
I know that future site border is really, really
Can you imagine
great.
how expensive those cards would be now?
If they had done one version of them just like that in the future site. Because the first Lorwyn ones, there was no mythic then either, so they were just rares.
Yep. Well, it's not like they were that great anyways. But
Yeah. The Garruk was good. First Jace is okay. Chandra, Ajani, and Liliana are not. Liliana's okay too. The only one that's really not great is Chandra.
Yeah, and it took them how many years to get her right?
Right. They just have figured Chandra out in the last year or two. So how many Planeswalkers do you think there are printed right now that are in existence in the game?
Are we talking like reprints or just originals? Like
Just originals.
Okay.
Well, no. Let's. How many, including versions? So there's 9 different Jaces and 8 Chandras. So total Planeswalkers with unique names.
Oh. I'm going to guess upwards of the 50 mark.
What do you think, Max?
I think it's in probably higher than that at 80 something.
Ixalan took us to 102.
Wow, I was way off.
Now that's including, I think there's 4 or 6 of the bad Planeswalkers that they made for the versus decks.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about those.
That's counting those ones,
but that also, if you think about, we get 2 Planeswalker decks per standard set.
Yep.
And there's usually 2 to 3 Planeswalkers in a standard set. You're looking at 5 to 10 Planeswalkers per block if it's a 2-set block.
Right. Yeah. Because they're just in the set itself. At least they try to do roughly 5 to 6 just in
the booster
block.
Yep.
And there's 2 additional ones.
So I don't know
if not
about
4
you
additional
guys.
ones.
We keep getting all these new Planeswalkers and everything. Does it kind of lose the flavor of a Planeswalker?
I think it does a little bit.
Especially story-wise, because Planeswalker seems like it's like an ultimate being, but now you have one on every plane that you go to, 1 or 2 of them is just kind of
I think it's less special.
Yeah, it takes especially now that they're really focused on telling the story along with the cards, it takes the excitement of, I cracked a Planeswalker, but it's really crappy unless you're playing Draft or something, or playing Dino Tribal.
Yeah.
Well, back when, hey, Innistrad's coming out, what are we going to get? Oh, Soren's on his own plane. Cool, it's a new Soren, and he's black-white. And then you get 4 or 5 new Planeswalkers too, or then you go to Ravnica, and Jace is back. We haven't seen Jace for a few blocks. And, Gideon's back too. We haven't seen him for a while. We get a bunch of new ones. Now it's we're going to get 1 or 2 members of the Gatewatch.
Yeah.
And they're going to destroy the plane wherever they go.
Right, they're going to screw everything up. But I think a little it's a little bit less magical than it once was. I don't get as excited about it as I once did.
Neither do I. And I look at them more through an EDH lens than a standard lens or modern lens, just because I don't play those formats. And there haven't been a lot that have been like, yes, that needs to go in an EDH deck because it's going to do awesome things.
See, I look at it through the standard and modern more than commander because I'm more of a, like, if I'm going to buy Planeswalker, I want to make sure it holds its value for the card.
Sure.
Like Chandra, I knew that she was going to spike and she was going to hold her value, which she still has.
Yep.
The new one.
Does she get played in any other formats?
I have seen her in modern.
Okay, so she
Called-
should keep some value
She's
after.
played
Zero
in a
hits.
weird burn.
Rat Moon or something like
Yep.
that. It's like Pack Rat and Blood Moon, and
Oh,
they're curving into Chandra and Cletus, and you're just going, oh no.
So, on that topic, it is interesting that the power value of Planeswalkers fluctuates so much between formats. Like the strongest Planeswalkers looking at modern are
Liliana the Veil.
Liliana the Veil, and Jace obviously was so strong he's banned.
Yep.
And Jason Mind Sculptor in Commander is a okay card, but like when it comes out, I don't freak out about it.
No, you're more worried about your big drops, such as Ugin,
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
Karn.
Elspeth Sun's Champion, that kind of stuff, because they do multiple things for you for a commander game.
Not that Elspeth wasn't good in Standard at the time, but she doesn't see play anywhere else.
Yep.
Whereas Gurk Wildspeaker, who we mentioned untapping 2 lands, is super useful, and he doesn't even see consideration anywhere else.
No.
And in Commander, he's really, really good. So I do find that kind of curious. And they design them purportedly. They're designed for Standard, so
Yeah, because they're all about their standard.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's what makes them money. Not.
So what would you say is the best Planeswalker in Commander? Do you have an opinion on that?
If I had to guess, my personal opinion for the best overall would have to be Ugin, the Spirit Dragon, because he exiles all colored permanents.
And he's colorless himself, so you
Yep.
can put him in any deck.
Yep.
That was my answer as well.
Just for a commander standpoint. I mean, other ones I would assume are probably as good, but depends on the build. Ugin's something you can just slap in pretty much any deck and go.
Yeah. And in EDH, it's so easy to get to that, 8 mana?
Yep.
Yeah.
Colorless or generic mana in
And I do
EDH.
believe he starts at 7 loyalty.
Yeah, he's got a high loyalty to start
Yep.
with anyway. So right, you can immediately take a lot of pieces off the board with that card.
Yes.
I tend to agree. Ugin, that was my first thought as well. I think Karn is worth talking about to a degree. Elspeth Sun's Champion is worth talking about. I also think there's a lot of them that are good that people don't run. Like Dovin Bond is a perfectly good card, and I never see him played anywhere. I don't think he's great, but like I think at this point there's so many Planeswalkers that cards that like Dovin Bond. If Dovin Bond would have came out in Innistrad
Or even Return to Ravnica.
or Return to Ravnica, people would have been crazy for that card.
Oh, Return to Ravnica would have been horrible. I remember that standard format. At
Oh
that
God,
time.
yeah,
With him and
white blue
Jace?
control.
Ooh.
Yes, white blue control.
But right now, nobody like even looks at him twice.
No, I think he's only like a $3 card too.
Yeah, you're right. He right now is cheaper, I think, than Tybalt was at his low point,
Yeah.
or close anyway. Tybalt might have been $250 or something,
Ugh.
but that was with a dual deck printing.
Yep.
Dovin Bond just by himself is worth almost nothing, and he's a decent card. I think part of that is also people have kind of the luster has worn off a little bit.
Yeah. I do like how what we voted for the best Planeswalker we think commander, they're all colorless ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did your guys' mind go the same way that I did, where it's just, since the question was what was the best one for commander, you were just like, okay, what's the best one that I can slot in any deck? Is that why you went colorless?
I did not go that way.
I think there's two levels to it. I think he's the best in that he's the most versatile, and I think he's probably the best in that he impacts the game state the most when you drop him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like no matter what
That's-
deck
I
you're going to
went-
drop him.
I went just general, generic, what would be the best one if I were building anything, and that
Yep.
would be the one.
He also has a couple of lands that interact with him in unique ways.
Yes.
I'm not going to run any of them in a deck just to utilize him, but like if you wanted to, there's a couple Ugin lands that let you get him from the graveyard or let you
Yep.
tutor up,
Mhm.
interact with him in a way that's kind of cool. Whereas like the first Nissa, you can search up Nissa's Chosen and put him into play, but unless you're running like some kind of a dedicated elf ball, why are you running Nissa's Chosen? You're not doing that.
Yeah.
Whereas being able to grab Ugin with your Ugin land is a perfectly good play in some decks.
If I had to choose a non-colorless one, it would be the Flip Nissa.
She's a really cool card.
I would have to get behind that. I do like the option of creature or planeswalker.
And her +1 on the Planeswalker side is if it's a land, put it in the battlefield
Or draw a card.
or draw it.
In green.
Right. And oftentimes you can do both of those things. You can play her, you play her, you get your land from her ETB trigger, play your land, flip her, and then do the +1 in one turn.
Yep.
She's
Hit
really
another
good
land,
value.
ramping just all day.
Baby Jace is pretty strong. We talked about him not being from the vaults, but I mean he's kind of a snapcaster.
Yep,
You've
when
got
he
there,
flips.
a second copy. Of
Otherwise, he's a
Snapcaster.
merfolk looter.
Right, and he's
Yep.
pretty easy to flip.
Yep.
Commander special.
Yeah, 5. I think I do believe it's 5 cards in the graveyard.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then he flips.
The one we didn't talk about though is Soren Markov.
Oh yeah.
You go to 10.
And actually, that's probably the Planeswalker I've seen the most.
Yeah.
I would say.
I do believe that card is extremely powerful, but in Commander, I think it is a trap. Pretty much, you shoot someone to 10, and immediately
Everyone-
he's gonna turn. He or she's gonna turn at you and just be like, "Okay, game on. I'm probably gonna lose this game, but I'm taking you with me."
Oh yeah.
It's also a card I think that maybe in a more mature meta, and by mature I mean people that have played together for a lot of years, people kind of have gotten bored of it. It was fun to do a couple times, and then after all, you're like, I don't need to knock your life to 10. I'm going to kill you some other way.
I can see it if you're playing against like a life gain deck or something. You're just like, "Oh, you're at 300 life.
and
I
ma-
need to get you down now."
And even
Right.
if you've got 3 Alloro decks in your meta that are constantly sitting at 200 life or something, absolutely that makes sense to just jam it.
I would jam that in there in a heartbeat.
For sure, absolutely. Actually, in most of the Sorens are actually pretty decent. Consistently from top to bottom, from the first one made to the last one made, all his cards are good.
Yeah,
And there's not a lot of Planeswalkers you can say that about.
No. Yeah, I can't think of one that's horrendous by any means.
Well, anything else about Planeswalkers you want to talk about here? I've covered most of my stuff.
Yeah, same here.
I'm pretty good with Planeswalkers. I mean, they are what they are. You can't really get away from them.
Nope.
They're a part of the game now, and you have to be prepared to deal with it.
Yes.
So before we go, I want to ask a final closing question here that's kind of tied to Planeswalkers. So we're going back to Dominaria in the spring. I'm guessing we're going to get in a Johnny card because that was his last known location when he's like, hey, Gatewatch, don't go fight Bolas. It's a bad idea. Let's go meet up in Dominaria. See you in a few minutes. And then Jason's immediately like, nope, we're going to go fight the dragon.
You know, you think they would listen to him. I mean,
Right.
This cat is old and wise. He has one eye. I mean, he knows what he's talking about.
And he's fought against Bolas before.
Yes.
Nope, they didn't do that. So I'm guessing we'll get in a Johnny card, but is there anybody else you think is going to pop up? Because it's Dominaria, so there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of Planeswalkers they could go back to.
I have 2 in mind, but I'm going to let Max say his first just so I don't double up on what he's going to say.
I think we're going to see Bolas.
Oh, really? I was not expecting that. I could see that for sure.
I think we're going to see him form part 2 of his plan. He's not going to get defeated. He's not going to lose, but he's going to show up and, lay the next plot for, his Bolas
that
league.
is his home plane, I believe it would be.
is.
All right. Dana, you want to say? Well, you said Ajani. Anything else that you wanted to?
I wouldn't be shocked to see Liliana show up because they like to have Gatewatch people there, and she's also from Dominaria.
Is that your other one?
No, neither
But-
of them are.
But that's not my answer.
Okay.
I wouldn't be shocked to see her, but that's not my answer. I think we're going to get Teferi back.
Okay, that was one of mine.
That was one of yours?
Yep.
Okay. I think that Teferi's protection was a little bit of a hint in the commander decks.
And Teferi, I do believe, according to the story, when the plane phased out or whatever, it was his doing.
Yes, as he phased out
Yep.
Jamuna, I believe, which is kind of the Africa-ish plane or continent in Dominaria, and he
Okay.
phased it out and went with it. So,
Yep.
so he's technically still there. So I think we might. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, but I think we'll get a Teferi back.
I still say it's going to be Karn. It will be
Oh.
Karn.
Man, I was not thinking of Karn
That's-
either. Both
yeah.
of you
Because
surprised me.
Karn took off to check out all the other planes
Yep.
that he infected with the Phyrexian oil or whatever it was. And I think that he might go back to Dominaria to his birth plane
He spent a lot of time there
To
for
find
sure.
an answer.
to find an answer.
That would be great. Oh man, see now you both have me like those are really good responses. I want to see both of those things happen.
I think. See, now we can
Which
put Bolas
that-
in the mix.
That could play
Right,
into
there
the
we go.
Bolas thing because maybe Bolas is looking for Karn.
come
Yeah.
to my side. We have cookies.
Right,
Something-
right.
something about-
exactly.
Something about with how Urza made him with the colony heart or whatever that he used and
Yep.
all that stuff.
I like both of those answers from you guys. All right, that is it for the Planeswalker Show. I'm Dana.
I'm Max.
And I'm Chris.